And that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Spetnagel.
Thank you, President Arnold. I've got a statistic that I want to share with everyone tonight because I like statistics, and this one was a real eye-opener for me. Over a 4-day period between February 1st and February 4th, 2010, the total amount of all the checks that were issued by the City of Chillicothe and processed by my office was over $2 million. Now, granted, some of those were one-time expenses. For example, we paid workers' comp for the entire year. But nonetheless, I think it's important for the public to have some idea of just how much it costs for a city our size to operate. And I think, obviously, if we were to spend at that rate on a regular basis, it would not be sustainable in the long term. So that's just some food for thought. The latest news on our revenue is mixed at best. Although income tax collection has started to pick up, that's mostly attributable to business returns, and those numbers may turn out to be misleading due to some really high estimates and some early filings. On a positive note, we did collect over $100,000 in EMS fees for the month of January, which is slightly higher than average. And incidentally, those of you who follow city government may get the impression sometimes that I'm always dwelling on the negatives, but that's not true. I'm actually very optimistic that our situation will improve. The question is just, will it improve soon enough, and what can we do to get ahead so this doesn't happen every year? The last thing that I want to mention tonight is something that was a big issue last year, and I haven't brought it up yet, but it involves upgrading the city's computer system. If you'll recall, it was pitched to City Council last year as an emergency measure, and the need for it certainly hasn't changed. But given the state of our budget, I've decided to hold off on that as long as possible. But I am going to start investigating the options soon, and I want to include everyone on council and in the various departments that will be affected by that. Anyone who's interested, please let me know. I'll keep you updated on my research, and if we can get a committee together for that. I know Mr. Prohl and Mr. Sibrel are both computer geeks like me, so if we can get a committee together, that'll be even better. And that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. I have a couple of things this evening. First, I would like to take this opportunity to introduce Jordan Baker, who is over here. Jordan is the president of the Chillicothe High School Student Council, and I've invited her here to extend an invitation for her to be somewhat of a liaison with our council here. I believe that the youth in our community should have some input. Listening to their ideas and meeting their needs helps to build interest in our community, generates involvement, and hopefully they will become future citizens that will be active. The youth today will be our future leaders, and they will be the base of our community. So Jordan, thanks for coming, and we look forward to you coming back and giving us some input. Okay. I also want to make an announcement that will come up here in new business, that I have reappointed the reappointment of Gary Lundy to serve on the nuisance board for a 3-year term. And here later, I'm asking council members to affirm that appointment in the new business section. Something else that I've been working on is trying to put together like a town hall meeting for the community. I have scheduled a date and a time that I'm prepared to announce. It will be March the 9th. That's a Tuesday evening at 7 o'clock at the Ross County Service Center. So again, March the 9th, Tuesday at 7 o'clock at the Ross Service Center. As more information comes up, I will try to give you some more details about that meeting. And that's all that I have for this evening as well. Now it is time for audience participation. When you do present your presentation, please step up to the microphone and give your name and your address for our records. Council Rule 21 does limit each speaker to a 5-minute presentation and a total limitation of 15 minutes per subject. I won't interrupt you, but I will silently indicate when you have 1 minute remaining, which should give you ample time to summarize your presentation and wrap it up. So if anybody would like to address council, please step forward.
My name is Fred Yingling. I live 668 East Water Street here in Chillicothe. The item that I have tonight, I heard over the news and saw in the paper that there might be an ordinance made in the city of Chillicothe on sighting in your bows for deer season. Well, that might be a dangerous thing in one way, but most deer hunters, I think, have enough ample equipment. You have the arrows?
I have them right here.
Okay. As you see in his right hand, that is the killer area. That's what they call a broadhead. The other one in his left hand is what I assume they were speaking about when they said target shooting, sighting your bow in. That's just a blunt arrow. Now, what really confuses me, I've thought this over since I heard this on the news. If they don't want people sighting their bows in the backyard, why did they put it on if we're allowed to kill deer in certain areas with a bow? The only thing I'm going to say, if there is an ordinance, I would like to see the ordinance written up that if it is not feasible to shoot your bow in your backyard, then maybe we as a city council or city of Chillicothe could put a place in the city park, like over along the rail or the river, put up bales of straw up there, and they usually sight them in just before deer season is in. And that way, if you get an arrow goes wild, the fish out in the river will get it. There won't be nobody's body or nobody's property going to be at stake. The carp will take them and go on down the river with them. I have been a bow hunter for years and years and years, and I have always been ample. I go to the electric company over there, and it's over along the hillside. That was before we had the walkway, and I always set my bales of straw up. My target's about this big around, and I've never had any problems with any arrows going clear through. They travel at 300 feet per second. That's very fast, very fast. Now I think Tom the other night when he brought this up that we're not allowed to shoot weapons. Anybody with a little bit of common sense ought to know that you shouldn't shoot in town. But there's a lot of things goes on not supposed to be. We know that. I just don't think that I've got a neighbor and he's got a styrofoam thing like that, and that arrow don't go in any further than that, and he's got a brand new compound bow, and I mean, just as soon as she twangs like that, it's in there. It never goes through. He always shoots with that up against the block garage. So I'm just saying that I think you're taking a little bit away from the hunter. Most of these guys have got common sense, and they know the dangers of bows and arrows and what they do. And I'm just saying, if you folks do decide to make an ordinance, I think maybe you write up in the ordinance that you have a backstop for safety protection, or else maybe give us a place to sight them in the city park. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Yingling. Anybody else, please, like to speak this evening?